if you could just give me a little intro of who you are and blah, blah, blah.
Hi, my name is Marlene Batista. I am married. I've been married for 25 years and I have 2 children and 3 dogs. My kids are 20 and 22, so pretty much independent. And about, 12 years ago, one of my oldest needed to get service hours in, and we love animals. So there's a sanctuary for rescue nearby. And so we started volunteering there for him to get his service hours. And he did his 90 hours of service time. And 12 years later, I'm still doing my service time. So since then, I've moved on to different rescues. And I also do dog walking for Rover.
Now, do you do dogs and cats or just dogs?
So in the beginning, we actually ended up doing cats because that was the opening that was available. And we don't have cats, mostly because 2 of us in the family are allergic. But we battled through that. We just did 1 day a week originally, and it was for like 2 hours, so that it was totally manageable. And so we did that for a year, and then off and on, I've helped when there's cats in like a pet store. I'll go over there if they need help, but mostly I do dogs.
And like me, you've worked for 2 different organizations, right? So are there similarities and also any like major differences between them?
So these are very different in the case that one has its own kennel, and the one that I'm affiliated with right now is a foster-based rescue. So that makes it very different, where I went to a facility and there were, how many dogs, 16 to 22 dogs, and we walked them. The care part is similar. It's just the location. And now it's foster based, and I foster failed just recently. So that's, I don't know that I'll be fostering, but we also had this like overflow, which one of our volunteers had offered the use of their pole barn, and then we used that for like 1 or 2 dogs at a time. But we're moving on, looking for another facility, to turn into a kennel and be more like my original one. That's always the goal, because you have some limitations with foster-based type situations. You can't always take in strays. There's different licensing, and actually we just the townships and states are really getting stricter on some of the laws and stuff in the kennel law, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's helping the animals, but it was stuff that people didn't really consider or think about, but then problems have arose. So it's just as the programs develop and expand that new laws need to be put in place. But
how many hours a week do you think you put in?
So I do walking, but I do paperwork. So I'm probably doing, about 8 to 10 hours maybe. And I do a little bit more, than there's some people that have their 2-hour time or less. And there's tons of different parts that you can do. We have event planners, we have fundraiser groups, we have secretaries that do flyers and thank you notes for donations. So there's all different aspects. You can do as little or as much as you want.
Now, you have a problem with rescues, like you can't. I'm the same, like I can't foster. I'm not a good fosterer because
I discovered that.
If somebody's there like for more than a couple months, then it becomes an issue for me. Like with all the animals that I rescued, the ones that I successfully rehomed were ones that I had like for, like a week. I found somebody right away. Like, what challenges do the organizations face, do you think?
I think for ours, because we're foster-based, is with the economy the way it is, people aren't opening their homes, or, they have to work more in order to provide for the families, because the foster-based, the rescue does supply everything, all the medicine, all the food, all vet bills. We take care of all that financially, but it still is, somewhat of a financial burden if you have an extra dog in your house, no matter how much you're being helped. And I think it's causing stress on people. So we don't have as many as animal fosters that we used to have.
Now, are you guys funded through grants or is it strictly donations?
We're a total donation. We're a nonprofit donation-based rescue.
And how do you get volunteers and how many volunteers do you have?
So social media is a big plus.
Oh,
I
really?
think we're up to, yeah, very big. I want to say, I don't know the definite numbers, but I'm thinking close to like 75 we have.
Oh,
but like
that's
some
quite
of
a bit.
So, and various different roles. But I want to say the one that had the kennel, they had over 300 volunteers. And when I started there 12 years ago, they had no paid employees. None whatsoever. It was all volunteer. Like the dog manager took care of everything, and they were pretty much accountable 24/7 in some means, or, you know, they might not have been on the facility, but they were, you know, had to be available by phone if there was an issue at the kennel or with an animal, or
Yeah.
so.
Now, how, like, what is a personal challenge other than keeping the dogs? What is a personal challenge like that you face sometimes with the animals?
What is a personal? I think that most of the dogs that I come in contact are so happy to have someone to care for you. And it's interesting, we since we're foster based, we don't have affiliation with some of the different organizations that would funnel in you know, local strays. So we get owner surrenders, and we'll have, you know, if there's an abundance of dogs in various different, you know, we get some from Tennessee and South Carolina.
Oh.
If they're overflowing, they'll reach out to us and we can take them in. And I think a personal challenge is the dog that comes, which is rare, that is so just frightened, like doesn't know what's happening to it, be it an owner surrender or you know, a stray, or you know, a transport up that they can't even get out of the kennel. I mean, typically I sit down and they come in, but it's like heartbreaking when you see that, because, you know, like part of me, I think I treat my animals as a human, which they're not, and their psyche is totally different. But, you know, I feel that they can't always communicate what their anxieties or fears are, and that, you know,
Have you seen that dog on Instagram that talks to the owner by touching?
I have. I know. Well, you know, they can learn up to 160 words.
I know, right?
Isn't it crazy? And I can't get my dogs to come.
I can get my dogs to come if they feel like it.
I know, right? It's all about their mood. I mean, sometimes they're always just attached to me, like one's right next to me. And other times, especially if they're outside and they're prey driven and chasing something.
I feel a little bad right now because the cats are in the trailer and I've been staying with them because I wanted them to acclimate well. And the dogs are sleeping downstairs by themselves, so they're alone. They're like run amok. Okami's like the queen dog now. I mean, my gosh, I'm like, holy crap, I'm gonna have to reel her in because she's gonna be in there. So tonight I'm gonna bring Bella in, and then so I'll bring them in like one by one because we're gonna be leaving, and I want but the cats are, again, it's just so hard because cats freak out. So dogs are a little bit easier.
It's different, you know, and I find that interesting because, you know, you can leave your cat for a couple of days as long as they have food and water, and they would be totally fine. But new situations, like I know the cat community, you know, the fosters they have cat rooms, and they bring them in and isolate them for a couple of days, and slowly over a 2-week period expose them to the other cats. And dogs don't always, you know, need that. You know, they're, you know, if you have a pack leader, you know, the human pack leader, then they're pretty adaptable and, you know, and work it out. So
in the trailer, I had to like block every space because they were going behind the sofa, and then behind this, like in a trailer, like all of your pipes and everything are underneath that, you know, and so, you know, and they were actually going into the cabinets, and then I didn't realize you could actually go through the cabinet wall in the back. So it's just like, I had to try to block everything and make sure everything's closed because I don't want them to get stuck, somewhere underneath something.
Right.
Kind of crazy.
The cats are always interesting. When I would do it over at the PetSmart, it was this small, like we had 8 cages and it was really a small space. And I'd be like, where's the cat? Because I would let him run free in the open area while I was cleaning. And I'm like, where's the cat? And they can get into the tiniest spot, and I'd have to move everything. And it would be like 2 folded cages and they'd be smushed in between there. They're like, what? I was just
I'm happy here hiding where I'm good.
right.